There was a time when walking into a store in America felt simple. You parked the car, you grabbed a cart, you walked down the aisle, picked up toothpaste, cereal, detergent, medicine, maybe a few things for dinner, and paid at the register. It was ordinary, so ordinary that nobody thought about it. But lately, that ordinary trip feels different. The toothpaste is locked behind plastic. The cashier is gone. The self-checkout machine freezes and asks for help. The price on the shelf feels higher than it should. The package looks smaller than it used to. The brand your family bought for years is missing. And somewhere between the locked cabinet, the security camera, the receipt check, and the long line at self-checkout, a simple shopping trip starts to feel like a warning sign. This is not just about Walmart. It is not just about Target, CVS, Walgreens, Dollar General, or your local grocery store. It is about what happens when the places built for everyday affordability start to feel expensive, guarded, and less human. Maybe the store is still open, but something inside it has changed, and millions of Americans can feel it before they can explain it. For decades, big American stores did more than sell products. They became part of the weekly rhythm of life. A parent stopped at Walmart after work. A retiree picked up prescriptions at Walgreens. A family bought school supplies at Target. A worker grabbed groceries, motor oil, socks, batteries, shampoo, and a birthday card, all in one trip. These stores were not glamorous. That was the point. They were practical. Large parking lots, bright lights, wide aisles, cheap basics, a feeling that almost anything ordinary could be found under one roof. For millions of families, these stores became a kind of informal infrastructure. Not public infrastructure, but everyday infrastructure. The place where a family managed survival. Food, medicine, cleaning supplies, diapers, pet food, work clothes, school notebooks, cold medicine, a replacement phone charger, a cheap dinner after a long shift. This was the promise of American retail: convenience, choice, low prices, and access. You did not have to be wealthy to participate. You just needed a cart and a list. That is why the change feels so personal. Because when these stores become harder to navigate, more expensive, more automated, and more guarded, people do not experience it as a corporate adjustment. They experience it as a change in ordinary life. The building is still there. The sign is still bright. The shelves are still filled. But the feeling is not the same. And the first sign of that change is now visible in aisle after aisle. The most obvious symbol of the new retail experience is the locked shelf. Toothpaste behind glass, razors behind glass, deodorant behind glass, laundry detergent behind plastic, baby formula locked up, cold medicine behind the counter. Even basic household goods now require a button, a wait, and sometimes an employee who never comes. On the surface, this looks like a theft story. And theft is part of it. Retailers call it shrink, merchandise that disappears through theft, damage, error, or loss. But the locked shelf is not only about loss prevention. It is also about trust. When a normal product is placed behind a barrier, the customer receives a quiet message. The store no longer trusts the room. And when enough ordinary products are locked away, the customer begins to feel that the store no longer sees them as a shopper. It sees them as a risk to be managed. That changes the psychology of shopping. Imagine needing toothpaste. Not a luxury item, not electronics. Toothpaste. You press a button. You wait. You look around. Other shoppers pass by. An employee is busy somewhere else. You press again. Now the simple act of buying something basic has become slightly awkward, slightly delayed, slightly humiliating. Nobody yells. Nothing dramatic happens. But a small layer of friction enters daily life. And that friction matters. Because when enough parts of ordinary life become slower, colder, and more suspicious, people begin to feel that the environment around them is changing. The store may say it is protecting inventory. The customer feels that normal life is being placed behind glass. That is a very different experience. And it leads directly to the next change people notice. The human cashier is disappearing. Self-checkout was introduced as a faster way to shop. Scan your own items. Bag your own groceries. Pay quickly. Leave. For a while, it felt like progress, especially for a small basket. Especially for younger customers. Especially when stores had enough workers nearby to help. But in many places, self-checkout no longer feels like a convenience. It feels like the default. There are fewer open registers, longer lines, machines that freeze, unexpected item in bagging area. Please wait for assistance. A red light flashes. One employee watches 6 or 8 machines at once. Customers scan groceries, bag items, look for produce codes, fix errors, wait for approval, and still feel watched. The transaction has changed. The shopper is doing more of the work, but the shopper is not more trusted. That is the strange part. You do the scanning. You do the bagging. You handle the machine. But cameras watch from above. Screens show your face. Sensors monitor the items. Employees are expected to prevent mistakes, theft, arguments, confusion, and technical failures, all at the same time. For workers, the job has also changed. A cashier used to ring up one customer at a time. Now one worker may be responsible for an entire self-checkout zone. They are cashier, security monitor, tech support, customer service, conflict manager, and loss prevention assistant all in one. This is not just automation replacing work. It is automation rearranging stress. The company may reduce labor costs. But the pressure does not disappear. It moves. It moves onto customers. It moves onto fewer employees. It moves into the atmosphere of the store. That is why the checkout area often feels tense now. Not chaotic every time. Not broken every time, but less relaxed, less human, less simple. And once shopping becomes less simple, people begin to notice something else. They are paying more for the privilege of doing more themselves. Most Americans know prices have gone up. They see it every week. Eggs, bread, milk, meat, coffee, paper towels, laundry detergent, pet food, medicine. A grocery run that used to feel routine now feels like a financial event. But the price tag is only part of the story. The product itself has changed. Packages are smaller. Bags are lighter. Boxes have more air. Bottles have fewer ounces. The price may rise slowly, but the quantity can shrink quietly. This is why many shoppers have the same uncomfortable feeling. I spent more, but came home with less. That sentence explains more than inflation. It explains a loss of trust. A person remembers what a full cart used to look like. They remember what $100 used to buy. They remember walking out with enough food for the week and not thinking about it much. Now they study unit prices. They switch brands. They clip digital coupons. They compare the store brand with the name brand. They leave meat behind. They buy fewer snacks. They choose the smaller bottle because the larger one feels impossible. They do mental math in the aisle. This is not dramatic poverty. It is constant adjustment, and constant adjustment is exhausting. The store still looks full. The shelves are not empty. The lights are still bright. But the abundance feels different. Because abundance is not just seeing many products on a shelf. Abundance is feeling that you can afford enough of them without fear. That feeling is weaker now. And once customers become more price-sensitive, retailers respond. They change product mixes. They push private labels. They reduce staffing. They promote app discounts. They adjust package sizes. They protect margins. Each change may make sense on a spreadsheet, but inside the store, the customer experiences the total as decline, not collapse. Decline. A slow, quiet reduction in comfort. And that reduction has a human face. Karen Mitchell is 54. She lives outside Columbus, Ohio. She works as a school office administrator. Her monthly take-home pay is about $3,850. She is not poor, but she does not feel secure. Her husband works part-time after a back injury reduced his hours. Their youngest child is still at home. Their oldest is in community college and still needs help with books, gas, and food. Karen shops carefully. She has always been careful. She knows which store has cheaper paper towels. She knows when meat gets marked down. She knows which store brand cereal her family will accept and which one they will complain about. 5 years ago, her monthly grocery and household budget was around $650. Now it is closer to $950, sometimes more. Here is her monthly structure. Karen Mitchell, Columbus, Ohio area monthly take-home pay, $3,850. Rent, $1,425. Utilities, phone, and internet. $510 car payment, $390 car insurance. Gas and maintenance, $540 groceries and household basics, $950 pays and prescriptions, $220 credit card minimums, $260 support for college-age child, $300 emergency and repair reserve, $200. Total core monthly costs, $4,795. Income minus core costs, $3,850. 4,795 equals negative $945. This is the part people do not see from the outside. Karen still has a job. She still shops. She still pays bills. She still drives a car. She still looks middle class. But the math no longer behaves like middle class math. So her shopping trip changes. She does not walk into the store casually anymore. She enters with a plan. She checks the app. She checks the weekly ad. She compares prices. She substitutes. She removes things from the cart before checkout. She watches the total climb on the screen. And when the machine asks her to wait for assistance, she feels something heavier than irritation. She feels the pressure of a life that has become harder to manage in small, repeated ways. The store did not break her, but it reflects the pressure she is under. And that is why this issue is larger than retail. The shopping cart has become a monthly financial report. It is easy to blame one company: Walmart, Target, CVS, Walgreens, Dollar General, the local grocery chain. But the truth is more complicated. Stores are responding to pressure from many directions at once. Labor costs are higher. Supply chains are more expensive. Rent and utilities are higher. Insurance costs are higher. Security costs are higher. Credit card fees take a piece of every transaction. Online competition keeps margins under pressure. Customers are stretched and trading down. Investors still expect profits. Theft and shrink create real losses. And physical stores now have to compete with the convenience of online shopping while still paying for buildings, employees, parking lots, lighting, refrigeration, delivery systems, and inventory. That is the structure behind the experience. Every locked shelf has a business reason. Every self-checkout lane has a cost reason. Every smaller package has a margin reason. Every digital coupon has a data reason. Every receipt check has a loss prevention reason. Every staffing cut has an efficiency reason. But the customer does not experience each reason separately. The customer experiences the store, and the store feels worse. This is one of the most important differences between business logic and human experience. On a spreadsheet, each change can appear rational. Inside the aisle, the changes combine into something emotional. A shopper does not say, "I am experiencing the cumulative effect of labor optimization, inventory shrinkage, inflation, margin protection, and digital transformation." They say, "This store feels awful now." That sentence matters, because it means the problem has moved from price into trust. And once trust weakens, the store becomes a different place. Not just more expensive. Less comfortable, less predictable, less welcoming. That is why this change feels bigger than a retail strategy. It feels like a sign that the economy ordinary people live inside is becoming more guarded. Another quiet change has happened inside stores. The price is no longer just the price. There is the shelf price, the app price, the member price, the digital coupon price, the buy-to price, the online-only price, the loyalty card price, the price if you scan the code, the price if you remember to clip the coupon before checkout. This may look like savings. Sometimes it is. But it also turns shopping into work. A person who just wants laundry detergent now has to compare apps, check accounts, sign in, enter a phone number, scan a barcode, and hope the discount applies correctly. For people with time, patience, and a smartphone, this may be annoying. For older shoppers, low-income shoppers, disabled shoppers, or people who are not comfortable with apps, it can feel exclusionary. The best price is no longer automatically available. It has to be unlocked. That changes the meaning of affordability. A store can advertise a low price, but if that price requires digital access, attention, and effort, then the discount is not just a discount. It is a test. And customers feel this. They feel that they are being asked to do more planning, more scanning, more signing in, more checking, more correcting. The store becomes less like a public marketplace and more like a system to navigate. This is not accidental. Digital systems help retailers collect data. They shape customer behavior. They push loyalty. They reduce printed coupons. They track what people buy. They create targeted offers. Again, there is business logic behind it. But the human experience can feel different. A person trying to save money may feel like they are being pulled deeper into a machine. And that machine increasingly decides who gets the best price, who misses it, and who has to pay more because they did not know where to tap. When a store becomes frustrating, people complain. But when a store closes, the community feels it. A big box store closing is not just a business event. In many towns, it removes access. Access to groceries, prescriptions, affordable clothes, household basics, jobs, a pharmacy, a place to cash a paycheck, a place to buy school supplies at the last minute, a place older people know how to navigate. In wealthier areas, a closure is inconvenient. In lower income areas, rural areas, or neighborhoods with fewer options, it can change daily life. People drive farther, spend more on gas, use smaller stores with higher prices, order online if they can, depend on relatives, delay purchases, or go without. This is the part of retail decline that is easy to miss. The store may have been imperfect. The aisles may have been crowded. The lines may have been long. The shelves may have been locked. But it was still there. And for many people, still there matters. American retail was built around scale. Large stores serving large areas. When that model works, it creates convenience. When it starts to pull back, the gaps are enormous. A pharmacy closure is not just a pharmacy closure for a senior without reliable transportation. A grocery closure is not just a grocery closure for a parent working two jobs. A discount store closure is not just a discount store closure in a town where wages are low. This is how retail becomes infrastructure. You only notice how much people depended on it when it disappears. And that is when the question becomes larger. What happens when the private companies that became essential to daily life decide certain places are no longer worth serving? Shopping used to be an errand. Now, for many households, it feels like a calculation. Can we afford this brand? Do we need it this week? Can it wait? Is there a coupon? Is the smaller size actually more expensive per ounce? Why did the total jump so fast? Should I put something back? Why is this locked? Where is the employee? Why is there only one register open? Will the self-checkout machine flag me again? These questions create a kind of low-level stress. Not dramatic stress, not crisis every time, but repeated, ordinary stress. And repeated, ordinary stress changes how people move through life. They become more alert, more irritated, more tired, less patient, less trusting. This matters because the store is one of the last places where many different kinds of Americans still physically share space. Older people, parents, teenagers, workers, retirees, immigrants, low-income families, middle-class families, people in suits, people coming from night shifts, people with children, people buying medicine, people buying dinner. If that shared space becomes tense, guarded, understaffed, and expensive, then the emotional temperature of daily life changes. People feel it in small interactions. A customer snaps at an employee stops making eye contact. A shopper feels watched. A line grows quiet and irritated. Everyone is under pressure, but nobody has enough time to explain why. This is where economics becomes atmosphere. The prices are numbers, but the mood is social. And the mood inside American stores is telling us something important. It is telling us that the pressure has reached the aisle. A store is never just a store. It is a mirror of the economy around it. When people have money, time, trust, and stability, stores feel one way. When people are stretched, wages feel thin, theft rises, labor is short, prices climb, and companies protect margins. Stores feel another way. That is what is happening now. The American store is becoming a place where several pressures meet at once. Household budgets are tighter. Retailers are more defensive. Workers are asked to do more. Customers are asked to do more. Products offer less value. Security becomes more visible. Digital systems become harder to avoid. The shopping trip becomes a small version of the larger economy. Inflation is there. Automation is there. Labor pressure is there. Distrust is there. Corporate efficiency is there. Debt is there. Consumer exhaustion is there. And the shrinking margin of the American household is there too. That is why the change feels so strange. People are not only reacting to higher prices, they are reacting to a loss of ease. They are reacting to the feeling that normal life now requires more effort than it used to. More apps, more waiting, more scanning, more comparing, more suspicion, more calculation, more patience, more acceptance of things that used to feel unacceptable. And the most unsettling part is that none of this looks like collapse. The lights are on, the carts are moving, the shelves are stocked, the store is open, but normal has quietly become less normal. Maybe the biggest change inside American stores is not the locked shelf. It is not the self-checkout machine. It is not the receipt check at the door. It is not even the higher price tag. It is the feeling that ordinary life now comes with more friction. A trip to buy toothpaste, groceries, medicine, and paper towels should not feel like entering a system built on suspicion. A family should not need 3 apps, a loyalty card, a coupon strategy, and a mental calculator just to keep household basics affordable. A worker should not have to manage a line, a machine error, an angry customer, and a theft concern at the same time. A store should not feel like a warning. And yet, more Americans are beginning to feel that warning. Not because one company changed, not because one aisle is locked, not because one price went up, but because the small details are starting to point in the same direction. Less trust, less ease, less human contact, less value, less margin. For years, American retail promised abundance, full shelves, low prices, fast service, endless choice. But if the places built around everyday affordability start to feel expensive, tense, and guarded, then something larger has shifted. The store is still open. The lights are still bright. The carts are still rolling. But the experience is telling people something. And eventually, the things people feel every week become harder to ignore than the things they are told to believe.